Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Living with Us. I'm your host, Sharon Wandia, and we are at the beautiful Park Inn by Radisson. I hope you had a fabulous weekend, and I hope you're ready and geared to start the week with the right attitude. And today's show, given that it is Youth Skill Day, we are going to talk about the youth, and specifically about unemployment amongst the youth, which is something that is so rampant in this country. In fact, I want to give you a statistic real quick. According to a survey by the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics in 2018, 7 million Kenyans were unemployed, with 1.4 million of this figure desperately looking for jobs. This is an issue that's probably affecting you if you're watching right now, or someone that you do know. So you do want to pay keen attention, because my guests today are going to unpack their experience or their expertise in this field. I have three gentlemen here with me today. I have got Johnson Kinyua, who's a director of career services at the University of Nairobi. I've got Joe Mushiri, who's an entrepreneur, a youth activist, and an influencer. And then I've got Walter Mongare Nyambane, who's the Deputy Director of Youth Programs at the Office of the President. Let's get started with today's show, ladies and gentlemen. All right, gentlemen, welcome. How are you doing today? Yeah.
When is today, Joe?
Yeah. It's a good question.
It's a Monday.
When is Monday?
It's a Monday morning.
This is the 15th of July.
Yes, yes.
All right,
And
it's a great day.
It's a great day, and we
Yes.
get to talk about youth and some heavy conversation around unemployment, important conversations around that.
All right.
But before we even dive into this, I want to know from the three of you, what was your first job? And if you can share, how much were you making?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, we
Yeah.
can start with you, Walter.
I think mine is a bit longer. Maybe you can start with the rest. Yeah.
Okay, Johnson, what was your first job? How old were you, and what, you know?
Well, my first job was in an NGO,
Uh-huh.
and I think my pay was 20,000.
Okay.
I was lucky. That's
What?
what a lot of
Wow. 20.
In 1999, 20,000.
20,000.
Oh, that's equivalent to 2 million of today. Yeah, we can
Bit of a
compare
stretch.
that.
Not close. I mean, that's a lot. That's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money.
Joe?
For me, I remember I was an intern at KTN. I was a production assistant for those who are old, who's smarter now, and a show called VP. It used to be done by Dij and Mongolo. I used to be paid 5,000. So what used to be funny, like when I go to, because that time we never used to be paid like through the bank. So every time I used to go to the cashier, he used to ask me, do I remove money from my wallet, or how do you want me to pay you? Because it was so little. Wow. So you used to go there, then you sign a, what is it called?
A voucher.
A voucher. Imagine a voucher. A voucher. Yeah. Then you're given 5,000, and then that's it.
Wow.
Yeah.
My first job was very interesting. I was working in Mumia Sugar Company when the company was real doing well. Okay. And my job
Before
was very...
Kidero.
I wouldn't go there. My job was on a shift basis. We used to work in shifts, 8 hours. And my job was to watch at the first initial level of the cane preparation. The cane will be the cane will be brought in and then poured into the conveyor belt, where the sharp knives will chop it into pieces and then go now to start the process. Okay. But the farmers in Mumias were a little bit clever then and crafty. So because they were paid in kilos, so they would increase the kilos by putting large stones in between the cane. So you see when the crane just picks and throws it into the conveyor belt, so those knives kind of affected those stones kind of affected the sharp knives. So it's a kind of job that you couldn't sleep, and we were paid every 2 weeks, and we were paid in a brown envelope that had an opening that you could see, a clear opening, so you could see the notes plus the coins you're paid. So that tells you there was an element of paying you up to exactly how much you're earning. Coins. So that was my first job. Wow. If you slept at it, the noises of the stone versus the knives will wake you up.
Right.
Yes.
Wow. Do you remember how much it was?
It was 2,500 a month.
Okay.
And we were paid every 2 weeks.
Okay.
Yes.
So you're earning the same.
Yeah.
Oh,
technically.
Yeah. Technically.
Yeah. That was in early '96.
Early 96.
Pre-graduation or post-graduation?
Yeah. Pre-graduation.
Pre-graduation.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, my pre was 5,000.
Okay.
My during internship.
So this was the rich
5,000.
guy.
So you
among
went
us.
up from 5 to 20.
To 20
Wow.
in a span of
Wow.
4 years.
Yeah.
I'm curious to know if
Yeah.
there was any kind of struggle finding employment right after you cleared, or if you were able to find whether it's an internship or a job. And I just want to start off the show by trying to understand a little bit about your experiences. Did you struggle? And especially for the two gentlemen, Joe, I'm imagining yours was just not too long ago.
You don't talk in Joe is
It wasn't too
Joe is
long
recent.
ago. Right?
Yeah.
But back then, did you find that it was a struggle at all for you? At least as much as we know it is today.
If we look at generally the evolution of the job market, first having attained independence, and we have a new government and we have no officials to be in government. I remember the days of our fathers earlier in the 70s. Any person leaving from 6, you were guaranteed of a job. Most of them never got home.
Yeah.
You left school with your box by the bus stop. You already had someone waiting for you to take you to your next posting. Then come to the 80s, when now we changed the approach, the curriculum and everything else, and everybody now was out there in the job market. There were still opportunities, but not as before.
Okay.
Then after that, the rest of us who have come in with the 844 aspect, come to the 90s, come to the early 2000s, much of what we've seen is skilled labor that gets more opportunity than the white collar graduate kind of opportunity. So that is what my opinion would be. I don't know what the rest
Okay,
think.
yeah.
For me, I'd say I was lucky
Yeah.
because I happened to meet someone who was working at KTN in a different setting, and he mentioned, by the way, you're doing journalism, yeah? We are looking for someone to take a post in production, and I was technically lucky. I can't say that I went and I applied and I got a call back.
Right.
I can just say I was at the right place
At the right time.
at the right time, and I met
with the right skill.
and with the right skill, and I met the right person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is quite rare nowadays,
Right?
because
Things
have really changed.
drastically.
And I'm sure you guys saw the clip that was going around for ECA. They wanted a few, I think like 30 people for a few jobs in UAE.
And there was a rally.
And there were like
There was a rally
10,000
outside,
people. And it was crazy. So that shows you how
what the
things
market
are- yeah,
is right now.
exactly.
In fact, some publications, and maybe you can correct me if you do have the correct statistics here, but some publications say that 90% of the youth make up 90% of all unemployed Kenyans, right? Unemployed youth make up 90% of unemployed Kenyans.
I would
So
agree with you,
things
because every year the minimum number of guys who graduate is 800,000 from either Form 4 or university, and they all need to be somewhere. So you can imagine, like, let's say in 2010, only 100,000 people got jobs. So they spill over to 2011. So the 800,000 plus the 700,000 to 2012. So imagine from then to now, that number it's crazy. And that's why even when you put up a post and say we need a chef, one chef, you get 100 people.
Right.
Very qualified, by the way, not just guys who, maybe some who have worked abroad, some who worked here. So it's really unfortunate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you declare it a national disaster? And if so, what do you think are some of the policies or things that we could do to try and mitigate this? Maybe Johnson, you could share a little bit.
Yes, thank you. You remember during the 91 to 97 political upheaval, structural adjustment programs, restructuring of the parastatals and all that, the economy was very bad. But come 2000, with the new government, there was a new wave of productivities in the country, reviving the old parastatal that had died, and massive job employment were created. I would say that we also move, as you have said, national disaster, declaring and making the government, the private sector and other agencies to wake up to the call that all this youth, which Mushiri has just mentioned, that we need to find a place where to put our graduates, our youth, for them to work. So that policy framework and igniting all the sectors to wake up to the call of the youth, I think is very critical and very timely at this particular time. Yeah.
My thinking would be, it's on one basis that I would ask, and by the way, greetings from His Excellency the President. Yeah, and I'm sure he's watching, so it's important that we wave at some point. Thank you. Why I would personally agree with my colleagues in terms of declaring this a national disaster, not because it's not something that can be mitigated, not because it's something that can be addressed. And I think the figures in terms of percentages, in my opinion, are exaggerated, and I'll quantify why. Okay. But just to agree with my colleagues is that, number one, we need to actually make it, term it or declare it a national disaster. Why? Because then we would be able to draw any financial support from an emergency kitty. Unless it's declared that way, then we can't access the emergency kitty. And if you look at the situation of the young people, it's a matter of urgency and emergency. Why? Because when it comes to innovation, the young people are churning out new ideas every day that are overtaken by events. Yeah. The way government works, and that is rightfully so, is as in a structure and a manner that we are accountable to you as the citizens. So we can't wake up one day, Mushiri and I, make a decision without following due process, without public participation, without being in a physical year, without, the government has a structure and a process. That structure and process is what young people call bureaucracy. But yet we are supposed to be accountable to you as a citizen. So that is on that basis, we can then ask the president to declare it a national disaster, therefore enabling us to draw from alternative and non-conventional ways of supporting the youth matters.
And if it was to happen, I wonder, how would you then disperse the money? And I think I read somewhere a couple months ago that MasterCard had donated, I think, about 30 billion shillings to go towards youth fund and sort of supporting the youth and trying to make sure that we're managing and providing them with the skill sets, if it's further education, or I think even loans.
Maybe I can share more on that program. That's a partnership between the MasterCard Foundation, Equity Foundation, and KCB Foundation, which is geared under a program called Young Africa Works. Okay. Works in the sense that let us begin to differentiate between a job and work. And I think there's a lot of work to be done.
Okay.
The job in its description by Google is a regular, paid for opportunity where it's regular and it's regulated. Okay. Work in its format is something that needs your physical presence, execution, and to deliver certain results. If you look at what Joe, for example, what he says that he does, could you term that as a job? No. That's
why wouldn't you? Because actually what you're referencing is earlier before we started rolling, Joe was explaining how he's an influencer, and you were saying how, wow, I mean, growing up that wasn't even an option. How do you even, that? But why wouldn't you call that? Because he does have, something that he does he's required, he's certain deliverables he has to meet.
Maybe to just substantiate my statement, maybe he can describe how he works. He doesn't report at 8 and leaves at 5. Maybe he can expound. That is my argument, is from a job is a regular opportunity which you report at 8 and leave at 5 every day, consistently. Now when it comes to work, in my opinion, work can be you are required to deliver something within a certain period of time, and you're out and you're paid for it. Now that is what I'm saying. We need to begin to encourage our young people to look at it from work perspective as opposed to jobs.
So is that what Young Africa Works is aiming to do?
One is to first expose the young people to other forms of work. Other forms of required outputs that are able to earn you a livelihood. Because why is it that we look for a job? Why is it that we look for work? It's because we want a livelihood.
Right. Actually, in fact, I even want to jump to you, Joe, because you did touch on what he does. And now that you've responded, I understand. It's not a job. You've had jobs before. But would you describe what you do now as work? And can you describe it for those people who aren't quite familiar with what influencer means?
I think with the current times that have changed with social media, so many people have gotten, he's mentioning work, I think they've gotten jobs also. Because I'll give an example of, for example, someone like Eric Omondi, who he paved the way for to be a comedian. I don't know how much they were earning during their times as comedians. But
it was 5,000. It was 6 of us. It was 5K, and for 3 hours, and
Yes.
given food and transport.
okay. So
Yes.
if we compare his time and now, for example, let me use Eric Omondi because many people know him. He's in the comedy sphere. The creative comedy sphere. The amount of money he's earning right now, I don't think they could have asked for that money that time. I think even the producers and the TV would have laughed off at that idea.
You'd be chased.
Yeah, but you see what he's doing with the current times entitles him to ask for such money. And that's why you find Safaricom sponsoring him, Kenya Airways
Right.
sponsoring him.
Because he's leveraging off of social media
Exactly.
and that audience that he's...
So technically, he has a job and he's working. So he has both. Because think about it this way. If Safaricom tell him they're going to sponsor all his stadium events, he's going to tell them that he's going to bring X amount of people and maybe X amount of people are going to buy the tickets.
Right.
So, and they're going to maybe buy airtime worth this much. So he's leveraging on that. If he's doing a tour outside the country, he's going to talk about, to tell KQ, I'm going to maybe DC, and I'm going to show everybody that I'm using KQ as my means of transport, and I like it and I enjoy it. It's comfortable, it's affordable, and all that. So those are his deliverables now. You get? So for the new guys like you and me who are in social media now, you have deliverables.
Right.
You are told that, okay, fine, you go and tell someone, I can do this, and X amount of people might see, and X amount of people might react to what I talk about. So I can say nowadays with social media, you have a job and you have work intertwined.
But what I like about his argument, and which makes sense, is that number one, Safaricom is an entity, but Eric Omondi is not an employee of Safaricom, but they give him a specific thing to do for a
Exactly.
period of time.
So at some point you did say that, you know, when I mentioned the statistics of the figure, 90% of all unemployed people happen to be youth, but you said that figure might be exaggerated. Can you expound a little bit on...
I believe the figures are exaggerated for reasons well known to the entities that come up with such data. Number one, in my opinion, there are young people in this country who are on a daily basis doing something for livelihood and earning, but because they are not in formal employment, they are not captured in statistics.
Okay.
The number of people who leave the various colleges and schools and engage in activities that are skill-based in their own, Joe being an example, of people who have employed themselves, are not captured in statistics of those employed. But we do know that he was among the bunch of the 800 who left. But we don't have, in between, we've not captured him as meaningfully engaged for our livelihood, and neither have we captured him as employed. So what we do, minus plus.
Okay.
So that kind of statistics, that is why I'm saying is exaggerated.
So do we have an actual, would you have a figure?
It's difficult to have actual figures of what we call unemployed for obvious reasons. Number one, the young people that we have right now are innovators. And the job market has changed from the agrarian revolution to the industrial revolution to the digital revolution that we are now, which is inevitable. Guys are doing their own jobs, they are making their own livelihood, and they don't need to report to anyone. So how would you be able to capture that and qualify that?
Johnson, from your experience as a director at Career Services, do you find that there's more and more people, you know, opting for this different pursuit of work? And
as Walter has said, in typical graduation, there are around 100,000 graduates who get out to the job market. But those who get to the formal employment are like 10%. The 90% are actually doing what Walter is saying. And with Joe Musheru, Minister of ICT, as a University of Nairobi, we have embraced what we call the Ajira digital programs, where we have trained the youth on how to leverage on the digital revolution to get online work. And the tagline is, the future work is online. people are seeking for people to work from US, from Canada, Europe, Asia. And our people, so far since we started training them in August 2018, I understand from the statistic from those who manage the back offices, like they have earned 2.5 million. So if we were to go with the formal employment, we could have missed those people, around 400 of them who have been trained. And well, we have categorized the job in different way. We have those who want to work abroad. The world is looking for talents. There are those who are looking for full-time job here. There is online work, there is entrepreneurship, and we have volunteerism, which we call the service learning. So all those are forms of works. It depends on the mode of deliveries. And well, as a university, we are trying to categorize and do statistics on who goes to full-time, on who goes to online, on who goes to abroad and seek for work. And cumulatively, we'll be able to say out of the 14,000 graduates who graduated from the University of Nairobi, 4,000 went to full-time, 2,000 went online. By the end of the day, using the graduate tracker system, we'll be able to quantify the contribution, I mean, the graduates where they are actually getting the job or the work.
Yeah. You've talked a little bit about going overseas.
Yes.
Is brain drain a fear at all?
It's not a brain. It is actually going there to get the global exposure, expand your horizons, and you come back more skilled, more exposed, and you're looking at the world as a catchment area. So we were told when we were doing school back for 15 years ago that go to school, earn as many degrees and professional courses. One day an employer from all over will come seeking for that skills. And today it's happening. It's happening.
You know, one thing I find very interesting is that we've continued to teach our young people job opportunities of the 20th century and thinking we are preparing them for the 21st century. And that is the mistake that, as he said, the Ajira portal alone, which exposes you to opportunities beyond borders, because the digital aspect is global. And so people are looking for skills, and that's why we are celebrating World Skill Day. People are looking for skills. They are not looking for degrees.
It's true.
They're not looking for what you've studied.
You are very right.
I mean, in government, we used to have a job called typist. And you needed to learn so that the minister could do his letter by hand, give it to the typist to typeset it. Where is that job? It's no longer there.
Have you found that this is true for you, Joe? I mean, given that you are in this like new alternative space, do you find that, has anyone ever been like, can we see your degrees as before we invite you to, you know, influence on this or that?
First of all, I want to go back to something he said
that
I think our parents did as a mistake. When, I don't know about them, but when I was growing up, my dad used to tell me, read a lot, finish your homework so that you get a job. We never got advice from either your uncle or your dad that work hard, no, read a lot, or finish school and create your own form of employment. We never had that. This is a new thing that has come now, being an entrepreneur. And I'm sure even you, I'm sure whether it's your mom or your dad, they always used to tell you, soma sana, upate kazi, you go and get employed. That was the mentality that was there, which I think did a disservice to so many people, because everybody went to school, either after high school, either college or university, to study whatever you're studying so that you can get employed. But we never got that, what do you call it, that idea into your head that you can actually, when you finish school, you can actually try and start your own business. Because let me give you a typical example. If you finish school right now, either you're 22, between 21 and 23, you go get an internship for maybe 1 year, you start earning 10,000, 20,000. By the time you are 30, you're not earning the money that you should be earning based on your education, because you've gone to school for 16 years. But that doesn't compensate. But if you thought about it in this way, if you had gotten money to invest in your education immediately after school, in 10 years your business would have grown. You would have been employing people. But the problem is you are at the age of 30, you're still employed, and you still have to wake up every morning and go somewhere. And report, you know.
Yeah. No, I totally understand, and I'm grateful that the world has changed so much to accommodate people who are looking for ways to broaden their own perspectives by starting their own jobs or businesses, and social media or on the internet has a lot for a lot of that. But I think also it's a little difficult to ask of someone who's just finished school to somehow have capital to start a business, and it's true there's some that don't have.
My point was not everybody can do that. It's the same way, like maybe he likes being employed.
Yeah.
I like being a business person.
Right.
He likes doing whatever. We cannot all be the same.
Right.
Yeah,
right. No, but I get you.
You get
that
my
there
point.
ought to,
Yeah.
that there has to be.
We were never given an option.
Yeah,
we
more
were never.
conversations
Yeah, we
around.
were never actually
You
given
don't
an
have
option.
to follow this route.
Exactly.
But my point even was going to be.
Yes.
Are there policies or systems in place that would allow for the youth
Yes.
right now with an idea that they're like, I just need 70K. Or I
Actually,
just
these
need
guys in government, they had a very brilliant
No, not
idea.
that we hate. We have. Okay.
They had a very brilliant
I want to
idea.
hear like how
Yes,
are you
we
making
have.
this
Yes, I can-
So they were
I can
supposed
give an
to-
example in support of Walter and the government.
Okay.
On Wednesday, this Wednesday, we are launching what we call Belena BC, Belena Business, whereby the government through the World Bank has put like 5 billions up for grabs. They're looking for 750 students with good ideas.
750.
Students,
5 billion
Each-
for 750.
50, each will get between 900,000 to 3.6 million. Grant, not loan.
Okay.
To start off, once you start off and you require more capital, that's when the Biashara Bank now will come in place. And to me, that's a big boost from the government in terms of supporting the entrepreneurship
Yeah.
skills. Yeah.
But
True,
in
but
as
if
much
the
as
numbers are
in as
right,
much as that is a good idea, let me
Yeah.
be on the other side.
Okay, yeah.
Which side?
The other side that doesn't see
The devil's advocate,
practicality
yeah.
of this. So many people have tried to apply for the youth fund and all this. Most guys say it's so hard to access, or there are so many requirements. Like you have to be like 20 people for you to get maybe 1 million shillings, which sometimes doesn't make sense. How are you gonna make it possible for a guy who's right now is in campus, is in Nairobi, or is in college and has this brilliant idea, and he can legitimately come? Of course, there are things that you have to fill in and agree to. How is he guaranteed that if he applies and his idea is legit and it makes sense, he's going to get that money?
Okay. I think I can answer that from practical perspective.
And-
Number
and
one.
good question,
Yes,
Joe. Thank you for
thanks-
taking on the
thanks for
question.
taking over.
Yeah.
Number one, the youth fund was created specifically to support the young people. The youth fund, I may not have all the statistics, but I can encourage us to visit our portals, youthfund.go.ke, to get accurate statistics of what is happening. But I can give a general overview. Number one, of course, as a government, we need to take responsibility and accountability and be accountable to where we failed the citizens. I think the case of youth fund is lack of adequate civic education going out to our youth in terms of what the process is, what you need to do, how many. But like now, Joe is saying, you have to be 100. No, you don't have to be 100. If you are 5 and you've registered your group as 5 youth, you are entitled to 100,000 as we speak of today, courtesy of what you call social security, as you are a group. That is your
But
social
Walter,
security.
what is 100,000 in this economy?
Now,
And you're 5 people.
No,
so that
no,
means
no,
technically
Joe,
it's
before
20K per person.
Yeah. Joe, before we throw in, and I can take you to task of to that task, because if you look at an example, you asked me earlier, how much did we used to earn as comedians when we started? Now, if at that point I looked more on the money than the vision, Eric Omondi, Churchill, and everybody else would not be existing today. So there's no money that is cheap.
It's true.
There's no money that is not enough. It's what do you do with the 20,000 that you get, because it's graduated. Once you get 100,000, that 100,000 can go into incubation of your idea. Then once you come back, you quantify to youth fund of this is our idea, this is the projections we have. Then youth fund is able to incubate your idea, work with you, do what we call stake equity, work with you and make sure that your idea is working, then give you more money. There are individual loans as we speak that go up to 1 million. There are individual loans that if you go and get a contract like you as Joe, you come to Youth Fund and they give you LPO financing. So we have different products. Even as we speak, for the creative economy, we have Talanta Fund, which an artist can access up to 2 million shillings to support his career as an artist. So what we are trying to say is that there are interventions in place. What we must be held accountable as the government, have we effectively communicated to our young people of the opportunities that are available? And that is the new frontier for us as government.
Joe, you mentioned something. Can you say what you said about Naivas?
Not even about Naivas. What I was saying earlier was, everybody, okay, not everybody. Many people used to like DM me or even call me, I don't know how they got my number, and tell me, Joe, just hook me up with any job. Any, not a specific job, like I want to do this or do this. Then I really used to feel bad because someone sends you their qualifications and you can see someone has gone to a nice school, but unfortunately the job market cannot take them in because either it's too saturated or there's simply no position for them. So they end up wanting to do anything just to make money, either for rent or for the family or for having a decent, what do you call it, a meal. So my friend and I, he's called Bernard, we started kaziconnect.com. What happens is we realized that him and I, we know, let's say I know him, but he doesn't know him. So he'll tell me, I need X kind of person. So it's on me to make sure that he gets that opportunity. So we started that portal and we used to post the jobs there. So what you do, you log in, you say, I am S, I've done this and I've done this and I've done this. So when he gives me an opening, I put it there. So if you're what you've done and what he wants, they match. So you get a notification in your email. It tells you S, click
and
on
you
this.
Just connect
and
both.
Then, so
but
that
I
was
think
for connecting.
But I think what got Walter going is what you were saying about I need a job, and you gave the example of Naivas who wanted, is it 20 people?
Exactly,
you said?
like
20
when
people?
Naivas they were starting, they wanted X amount of people, let's say 100.
100,
but they got crazy
thousands of
tens of
thousands,
applicants. And the worst thing is that you want someone who is going to offload groceries when they come at the back and to put them in the store. And that person who's applying is someone who's done Bachelor of Science. So when you tell them you're going to give them 20K, even you feel bad as an employee because he does not deserve to get 20K after going to school for 6 years.
Right.
How much does it, Joe? That's where I come in.
That's
where I come in.
Like
I think I want to say this with a lot of respect and humility. Number one, we need to differentiate between livelihood and a job. You either want a livelihood or you want a job. And I think the aspect of I'm an engineer, I'm studied engineer, and the opportunity that is available at Naivas, the opportunity available as an offloader is a livelihood agenda. If I can be able to do that, that is physical strength that is required for me to do that, not my mental cognitive development. So it doesn't matter whether I'm an engineer or not, but that's a job that needs to be done. So one, it's an aspect of attitude. What is the attitude that if I get anything from Joe, it's an attitude change towards opportunities that are available, that, excuse me, I'm all cut for that. Yet, you have no opportunity. Yet you're asking, I want any job. Do you want a job or you want a livelihood? And I think majority of our young people are skilled. They have something they can do, but we as parents messed them up because we forced them to learn what we wanted to be. Like I forced my daughter to be a biologist because I really, really wanted to do that. That's my dream. So I'm living it through my daughter, who is a creative, who wants to be in advertising, who wants to be on TV, who wants to be a model, but I'm like, enda usome, nataka usome biology, anapata D. So my argument here is there's an element of first, we need to really rethink and have an attitude change towards our young people to whether if you want a livelihood, then it's skill-based. Then it's what you can do, not what you've learned in school. Because majority of the courses that we've been offering in our many quack universities, which was a mistake, anyone who was having a photocopy job, no longer photocopies, decided to convert that photocopying into a university and enrolls people and calls it photocopy university, and we get our young people to go and learn courses
Actually,
that
I
are
was
so
very shocked
useless.
when I saw that 2,000 courses are set to be terminated.
Exactly.
Because they don't make sense in the current
Actually, I was going to ask
situation.
that. So, what are universities like? How what are you doing
To prepare.
to try and prepare the youth for the kinds of jobs that are available now, given how much the world has changed?
Well, according to the World Economic Forum, they said 50% of the jobs that are there will be obsolete and 50% will be new. So the universities are looking at the courses, a curriculum, whether they are fit for the future or they're obsolete. So recently the university archived 40 courses.
Can you give examples of what you've archived?
Typist.
I saw Bachelor of Science in microprocessing.
Yeah.
Okay.
I saw something in general agriculture.
Okay.
Because the agriculture is being replaced by precision agriculture,
So
automated agriculture.
Right.
And that is why, just to add on what
Yeah.
he's saying, other than the university,
Yeah.
that's part of what the government is putting as an intervention. We have changed the curriculum to competency-based curriculum, where we are now looking at output as opposed to academics that we need to pump into people. And that's why, like, we have arts and sports science as a division on its own. We've got the aspect of computer, mathematics into another category, because we can't continue to pump our young people with knowledge that is not going anywhere.
obsolete.
Yeah.
So are
What
there
is
new
happening is
courses?
that we are now in the fourth industrial revolution,
Right.
which is going to integrate the biology, the physics, everything. And the courses that we actually developed 10 years ago are actually now obsolete. In fact, the degree gives you a basic, so you start learning. It's like you are just starting. After you graduate, you start learning. But many think that because I have a degree in this, I'll get a job in this. But you need to reskill yourself, what we
Actually,
call retouring.
I
or
can use my
repackaging
own
yourself.
example. And it's very unfortunate that 844 does not match with what you do.
That's why we changed it.
Yeah, I did broadcast journalism and media communication in college. And I'm telling you, when I went to KTN, they had to teach me from scratch. When I joined Capital, they had to teach me from scratch. What I learned in college was nowhere near the practical
reality.
application of
The reality.
what you're doing.
Yes.
So I think for what they're saying about changing the curriculum and the education setup, we need people who've done what is being done on ground to help these guys come up with something that is working in school. Because most guys don't like employing people nowadays, because they know if I get Walter from school, it doesn't matter how long he's been in school, I have to teach him from zero. So that means that's 6 months of teaching him.
Right. So what you're essentially saying is that experience tramples degrees. It doesn't matter if you've got
It's not
several postgraduate degrees.
it is
Not
not
exactly.
express.
I'm trying to
Well-
say that we need the education and the job market or the work market to be aligned, and that's where, like, in the Western world, they are way ahead of us. Because, like, in the Western world, if the teacher notices you like music, you're pushed towards music and arts. Not like here in Kenya. Everybody studies physics, biology, chemistry. Whether you are good at it or
Right.
not, no
Whether
one
you're
cares
interested.
about
Mother
it.
wants Yeah.
Exactly. That's your parents,
wants
yeah.
you to do biology.
Exactly.
You have no
So-
choice.
Yeah.
She's the one paying school fees, right?
We need even the teachers to be able to identify talent, because they're the people who stay with your child for the longest time. Because think about it, when your child is from 3 years to 21 years, the most constant person is the teacher in their life.
So
You know,
I know I fully agree with that.
Yeah.
But it also drove me to the question, like,
Yes.
what should we sort of go after more? What should we be paying more attention to?
I think
is it
talent.
experience?
I think it's talent.
so
It
that
is
is
skill.
like
Yeah.
okay,
Skill and
rather
Because
than
think about it in these terms.
than
The
academia.
way the market, the job market has grown in terms of because of social media. Let me give an example of a comedian. We have one here.
thank you.
If he
Serious
grows,
government of
if he
officials.
grows as a comedian
Yeah.
and is earning, let's say, $1 million every month,
Uh-huh.
he's gonna need an accountant.
Right.
He's gonna need a stylist. He's gonna need a makeup guy. So, in a certain type of way, he's creating employment by himself. He's going to need a driver So you'll find Walter by himself has given 5 young guys opportunities.
Right, in his house, he'll need an electrician to come in.
Exactly. So that is what happens when people take their skills and their skills are harnessed and you make money out of it.
Right.
But when everybody's just thrown into the job market,
to fit the mold.
I just wanted to say, as we have this conversation, we also have to recognize the interventions the government puts in place, because our job as government is to make an enabling environment and to create an enabling environment for people to thrive, for industry to grow. But we also realize that our young people, majority who left colleges with those obsolete degrees and things that are not required in the current job market. That is why we have the Kenya Youth Employment and Opportunity Program, funded by World Bank to a tune of about 200 million. To a part of that, the greatest investment is retraining our people and our young people to be employable. That is the biggest chunk of the 200 million, to first make you be employable, because we realized enyewe auna.
Yeah, but that that essentially feels redundant if that's what uni should be doing.
That is why we even have an entire state department for post-skill development. That is where we have an entire state department of TVETs.
But Walter, I'll take you to task because
please do.
When you talk about government, even from business to farming, I think they really let down Kenyans, because we, like now business is really bad for Kenyans, because number one, money is not circulating. People are not buying goods as they used to buy. And then unfortunately we're in the era of China, where China has taken over the world because they make things cheaply. You saw recently guys were complaining about Gikomba.
But please don't lose me. The first sentence you're saying that we failed people. The reason why we are here, Joe, it's so that we can shed light where we feel as government either we've been misunderstood or something has not come through. And we would like to answer what you're asking in a way that it impacts positively over a young person out there. So what part of you think that we failed the government, so I can be able to address?
I think, for example, the government has not created an atmosphere where young people can prosper, where they can start their businesses. In terms of employment, I think we need to look beyond jobs, as you said earlier, and work. We need people to use their skills to make them have money. Like, I don't think, like, if I'm a young person, I can, all those things you've said, all those funds, that's a lot of money. But who really gets that money? Because if I ask you, who do you know who's actually benefited from this?
Okay. Allow me to answer his question in twofold. Number one, it's a general assumption to make that the government has failed. Because if we understand the role of government and we understand what we are supposed to do, then it becomes easier to quantify our interventions. Number one, I think even as we speak, statistics tell us that ease of doing business in this country globally has increased. We were those sides of number 156 on a global index. We are now below 80 in terms of ease of doing business. Joe, granted, we can't touch everybody's life, but our job is to put a policy framework that then protects every citizen to access the opportunity. We may not come and bring it to your doorstep, but we put a policy framework that is in place.
Walter,
Joe,
let me cut you short.
Kenya
has the best policies. I'm agreeing with you. Let me tell you the problem with Kenya. Kenya has one of the best policies in Africa, actually from education to agriculture, but the problem is never the policies, it's the implementation. That is where now the problem comes. You've said that you've created a framework and a channel and everything, but on the ground, if you were to ask all these young guys here, how many people do they know have actually accessed that money or have gone to their portal? And
I want to hold her.
Actually, I want to ask.
I want to hold you and him accountable for those young people he's pointing out for not getting the right information. How much of positive information do you as media houses or you as a blogger or an influencer, how much of the positive content do you send out there using your platforms? how many times do you tell these young people this is the accurate information? Because earlier was saying, oh, you know, CG, you have to be 100. That is inaccurate. And yet you can get into the website and get the accurate information. So I'm holding you too accountable to
Not the
failing
government.
those people,
It's
not
us.
the government,
It's the
because
two of
we
us.
have the best
You know,
policy.
No, that's what I'm
Joe-
saying. The policies are
Joe,
fine.
just
Yes.
give me a
Thank you.
sec.
That's
You
all
did
good.
ask
Yeah.
a question, and I want to turn to the crew for a second. Just raise your hand. Do you know anyone who's applied for funding and received it? No. No. All right. Oh, you do.
knows.
Okay, there is someone.
So one
there is
out of
someone.
3 is a third.
Okay.
Statistically.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you know, at the start of the show, you did say that this is
Yes.
a national disaster.
Yes.
And that it needs to be, at least it needs to be, you know, declared as one, so that the government and different institutions, whether it's universities, can sort of jump in and be a little bit more hands-on in preparing the youth, whether it's with information or it's with the right resources or the right skill sets. But it can't just be, I no, it's not just the government. I think we all do have a role to play in this, whether it's even in seeing ourselves as able to create our own jobs.
You know,
But-
even with what
but,
you're saying,
yeah.
as Walter is defending the government, if you look at the government right now, most of the people employed are not young. Let's be honest. I think last year they made Moody Awori to be the head of some youth something.
Joe,
You know what I'm saying? I gave Moody Awori because he is trustworthy. If I give a young person, he's going to steal everything. You know, with that kind of thinking, it's really unfortunate that we
I
have
want
that
to
in
step in.
government.
I want to step in because the economy of Kenya is growing, and Kenya is going to be an African tiger or a lion. There is a lot of economic boom from Lake Turkana, wind power turbine, Garissa, solar power, oil in Turkana, construction. But the skills we are using are imported, and now our focus should be investing in developing the local talent. I heard Kenya Pipeline Company saying they only have 3 welders, and they are all 57 years old waiting to retire unless we import skills from Philippines to weld our pipes, we're going to have a disaster. So
And do you know
Sorry,
what? Do
Jen.
you know why?
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Because let me tell you why I would hold Joe and yourself responsible. What's being a welder? You know, that's the cheapest. Yani, mtu ameona ni ule mse wa kwenda kuchomelea marikiti, achomelee machuma. Yet, when we talk about a welder, is an extremely high level engineering job. But because we've created this perception of certain skill jobs that they are not worth our.
But
you get.
Yeah,
That-
no,
that's-
I get
that's-
you, but I also
that's
think
my-
it's a little unfair to solely blame the youth
No,
for
we
the
are not blaming you.
unemployment
We are holding
or
you
holding
accountable.
us accountable.
Yes, we are
All right,
holding you accountable.
all
It's
right,
not the same.
gentlemen,
Thank
thank
you.
you. But we've run out of time.
No, we
you
still
know,
have 1 hour.
you know what?
Let's
you know
have this
what?
conversation,
You know what I will do though? I will ask of you if we can just have another 10-minute conversation. Maybe
Yeah,
this
sure.
is something we can have up on our Instagram page. We'll have it as an IG video and maybe Facebook as well. And we continue this debate. So make sure to follow us there. That's Living with S on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And we can go back and forth and just really see. Joe and I, are we responsible for the 90%?
You know,
who knows?
Accountable.
But we
You know- you know-
accountable.
you know the problem
Sorry,
with
Joe.
government, they always have someone to blame,
Joe, I have to
apart
cut
from
you off
themselves.
now. I have to cut you off because
It's
we've
okay.
run out of time. But thank you so much. I think this is an important conversation to have.
Thank you for having us.
And especially to have it on World Youth Skill Day. So thank you, gentlemen, for taking time to come.
I prepared for a parting shot. You don't have that?
You'll have the parting shot in the Instagram video.
Okay.
All right. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a great rest of the week. We'll be back here, same time, same place. And thank you to Parkin by Radisson as well. Bye, everybody.